Hey, welcome to Decide New with JW. This is Decide New number 33, My Childhood. So I wanted to take the opportunity to use this video to explain a little bit about my childhood and where I came from and how I was raised. So the reason for that is because this year I'll be turning 33, so I thought Decide New number 33 would be a perfect opportunity to explain a little bit. And the reason for that also is because I believe a lot of people use their childhood in a negative light when we're talking about, why we're not successful, or why I can't become successful, or why I'm not going to be able to get to where I want to be. And I don't want to use mine as a negative light. I want to kind of use it as a positive light. So you can see that, there might be some similarities between your childhood and my childhood. And also, maybe mine was worse than yours, or yours was worse than mine. You never know. But the reason I want to explain my childhood is because when I look back now and I think about my childhood, overall it was crap. It really was, and it's unfortunate, but I'm so glad it was crap because it really has turned me into who I am now because of certain things that I saw that I didn't want to repeat when I became a father. And I didn't want my children to grow up in that same type of environment, that same type of childhood. So a little backstory. I was raised by a single mother up until around 7 when I had a stepfather kind of enter into our family. I grew up in a double wide trailer when I was born up until right around 6 or 7, and my mother, we lived off child welfare and disability, different social system that's out there to provide for individuals that are unemployed and can't provide for themselves. Up until my stepdad came into the picture, and when he had a job and provided some type of income along with some of the services that my mother was getting. And my mother never worked a day in her life. Reasons still unknown to me, but whatever. But I didn't have much. I didn't have much of anything at all. And everything that I was provided with as a child, I was provided with love, but everything from a materialistic standpoint was non-name brand clothing. We shopped at all of the stores that weren't high end and anything like that. And I always knew when I was growing up if I wanted something and it was name brand, I wanted the cool stuff, to be a cool kid type stuff. I had to pay for it myself, and I didn't have a job until I was 14. So for many years, I went with what I got. And because of that, it really gave me a sense of value once I did have a job and I could buy certain things for myself. So if I wanted, the name brand pair of sneakers that were 40 or 50 bucks, well, I saved up over a couple of months' paychecks and I went out and bought my own stuff, my own name brand clothing. And I didn't have the nice things like everyone else had when I was growing up in high school, and I didn't really have a lot of friends because I wasn't a cool kid and I wasn't popular. I had a small group of friends that were at least good friends compared to lots of friends that were kind of just I kind of knew, and still to this day I really don't have a lot of friends, but it's now because I keep my community much smaller and tighter than being some type of popular individual. But the things that I realized when I was a kid was, because my mother didn't have a job and wasn't able to provide for us in the ways that I look back and I would have hoped for, it really gave me that sense of value. And when my father came in, my stepdad, he came into the picture, he provided some income and we had a house finally, and then he got hurt and he lost his job and he went on unemployment. So we went from having a house now to a single wide trailer. So for the majority of my life, from birth till around 17, when I moved out of my house at 17, we lived in a trailer park in California. And not that there's anything wrong with living in a trailer park, if that's where you're living, anything like that. But it's not what I want to be able to provide for my family now. I want to be able to work and provide for them in a way that I wasn't provided for as a child. Also, the thing with, having only one income, it's hard, and it was hard for my stepdad to provide for, his wife and 2 children with just that one income. We had bills just like everyone else, and when he lost his job, it kind of hit him hard, and wasn't able to then, be the father that he wanted to be and work continuously to provide us with certain things. So when I turned 14, I started, to kind of be the provider and do certain things that I didn't think that it was necessarily I was supposed to do at 14, but I did. And even after I, joined the Marine Corps, I remember I would send home money to my parents, and I look back and I think about my childhood, and I think about what I didn't have and why it's made me the individual I am now. And why I believe that's also kind of taken me to, towards success, because I realized and I saw what success didn't look like. That wasn't success. What I grew up in wasn't success from any type of standpoint that I would look at and I would think about now. My mother didn't have a job. She wasn't able to provide for us how I believe she should have. My stepdad wasn't able to provide for us in the way that he could because, he hurt himself. He broke his back at work. He went on unemployment and he had to do that. And I love my parents, and I don't want this video to sound like I don't love my parents or anything like that. I appreciate everything that they did for me from a, looking back, I appreciate everything that they did for me, and I love them for what they could. But I also realize that they could have done more. And because they could have done more, I look at what I have to do. And I have to be able to provide for my family, and I have to be able to be the individual that has the income and the hard work that goes into creating that income to provide for them. So my children don't look back and look at me in the same light that I do them in not being able to provide a childhood that was filled with more than just love, because there was lots of love. I don't want, like I said, I don't want this to be made out like it wasn't love, but success. There wasn't a blueprint for success. There wasn't like, if you do this, JW, this will lead you towards success. It was kind of the opposite, and because it was the opposite, that has given me what the blueprint for not having success looks like. I now know what success doesn't look like and what it does because of what I didn't have. So I have that blueprint of this is what surviving looks like, this is what thriving looks like. And I want to ensure that I live in the world of thriving. I want to be able to make sure and give to my children certain things that I wasn't provided for as a child, while still keeping that sense of value that I did get out of not having anything. So when I did get my own job, I was able to provide certain things that I wanted. And if I wanted that, nice pair of sneakers, I went out and I could purchase them. And it was, they were mine. And now what it's kind of taken me into is everything that I own is mine. Everything that I own, I paid for. And yes, I don't want to make it out like I'm debt free. I am. I am not wealthy, but I am well off in if I compare it to my childhood and compare it to what my parents had at the same age that I am currently. I have plenty. But what I have is mine. And if I had to pay off all the debt that I currently, have, I could pay it off right now. And for me, that is because of what I've been able to create over the last 15 years based off of what I didn't have as a child. So I want you to understand that even if you didn't have anything as a kid, even if you didn't have, things they weren't given to you and you had a rough life growing up and, there were nights that you were hungry and there was nights that you didn't have food on the table and there was nights that, you didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. That was then. That was yesterday. That was, 15, 17, 20 years, 30 years ago, whatever it is. What is today? Today is something brand new. Today is something completely different. And you can't be reliant on what you did or didn't have, what you were or weren't provided with. You have to be able to look at and see, what do you have right now? What do you have right now? What do you want right now? Because if you look at it and you're like, well, I didn't have this, and look, that story will never get old. My childhood story will never get old. There's no going back and going back and changing that. What you can change is right now what's in front of you. So when I look at my childhood and I look at where I came from, that's cool. Okay, that's the story. But what I'm doing now and where I'm going forward, that's the important part. So I want you to understand that. I want you to realize that, yes, you have a childhood, and we all have childhood, and whether it was great or it was garbage, that's just the story. That's the past. That's what it was. What you do now is the important part. And no matter what your childhood was, whether it was similar to mine or completely opposite, what you have now and what you have in the future is all going to be dependent on you. And you have to rely on yourself. So stop with that, well, I relied on my parents and they didn't provide for me, and I relied on this and it didn't provide. Rely on yourself and provide. That's the simplicity of it. Do that. That's all that matters. So tomorrow when I do Decide New number 34, I'm going to kind of talk about the successes that I've been able to create over the last 15 years based off of what I didn't have within my childhood. And, if you like the video, please hit like. If you like it, share it with other individuals. And if you think that it's going to impact somebody, please send the message out to them and let them know that what you had and what you can have are two different things. So let's stop living in the past and let's work towards the future. So until my next video, thanks for watching Decide New number 33, My Childhood.